Hi everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make this messenger bag on the Sentro machine. It is going to be a sped up video, but I'm going to just narrate over it. I learned how to make this bag on loomknittingvideo.com and it was super easy. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I made this. So we are going to cast on our waste yarn like we always do. This is going to be a back and forth looping all the way around the centro. You want to make sure you're going super slow so you get the needle to catch all of the waste yarn, and you'll go all the way around to the white pin. Once you've casted it on, you put it through the Sentro feeder and then the tensioner. And then I would go around at least 5 to 10 times. I personally go around 5 to 10 times. If you're a beginner, you might want to go around a little bit more so that your project doesn't get lost from the yarn being unraveled. And also, I'm cranking pretty fast. This video is sped up, but I did crank pretty fast. And you want to go super slow when you're starting out because you do not want to drop stitches. After I went around about 5 times with my waste yarn, I went in with my big twist yarn and I gave it a small tail. I should have given it a longer tail, but I gave it a small tail here. And then I just started cranking away. Again, you want to start off pretty slow so that your project doesn't start dropping stitches. As you can see here, I pulled my yarn straight from the center of the skein and fed it through my centro. You don't want your yarn to add tension to your project when a tensioner is already present. When I did it through this way, as you see, and I'm cranking, I can focus a lot of my effort into holding on to the machine rather than trying to reel the yarn and pulling the yarn while I crank. Normally, if you go from the center piece of the skein, you'll end up having to pull the yarn to unravel it from the skein and then keep cranking. And then once that yarn is ran out, you got to pull the yarn again. I find this way is so much easier. As you guys can see, I haven't been pulling the yarn with my own hands. I've just been cranking the centro and just going. So if you're ever using the centro and you are using a skein of yarn and there's a tail coming from the center, I always recommend pulling that because it's been like just the easiest thing in heaven sent for me to do that. But yes, I'm going to be doing 110 rows of the main body part of the messenger bag using the brown yarn here. I do have my sheet where I've striked off each of my numbers. One strike equals 10 rows. The Sentro does come with its own counter, as you see, but it is massively unreliable. There are times where I would just go around one whole row and it doesn't count it, and then it'll count every subsequent row. So now I have more rows than the Sentro has counted. So I ended up defaulting straight to writing each strike down. My yarn is now getting so long that it's touching the surface inside, as you see. Sometimes that might get a little choked up and you might want to pull it from the center upwards so that the project doesn't choke the machine. But in this case, you may not need that. So my machine hit a bit of a snag here. As you can see, there's a knot that came directly from the skein. So I'm going to hold on to my machine and try to feed it through and let the knot go in and then re-thread my yarn and keep pumping. you'll see that some of your yarn, no matter where you buy it from, I've bought from Amazon, I've bought from Michael's, I've bought from Joann's, I've bought from a bunch of different yarn Instagram stores, and I've even bought from Temu. And there's never been a point where I haven't gotten a bit of a knotting from any of these companies. I don't know if it's just something that happens. I don't really know, but I get a lot of, not like a lot in one skein of yarn, but I at least find one. There's been a rare occasion where I found two, and that was from an Amazon yarn. What would you expect any less from Amazon? I don't really know. But either way, just try to thread it in manually and don't try to force it through the machine, and just keep on pumping. Okay, so I have gotten to my 110th row, and I'm going to cut my yarn and add on my waste yarn to cast off my body portion of my Sentro project. So here you want to try to make sure your yarn is all the way to the right side of the last needle you were on, so that you don't drop a stitch there. Here is definitely a place where you want to go slow. I've been using the Sentro for several months now, so I tend to go fast even when I'm supposed to slow it down. But you never know until you have to learn a lesson, right? So here my waste yarn finished, and I'm just going to keep going around. You have to go around at least twice, I believe, to off cast your project. Some folks I've seen just go backwards, and that also helps. Here I'm using my, I believe it's 16 or 22 needle Sentro. I will say, guys, this Sentro is absolutely awful. I am so sorry that I have to say this, but it wasn't the best knitting machine that I've used. This is actually replacement for the first 16 or 22-inch Sentro that I had. You'll see from the video that it sticks every single time. Sometimes the sticking is caused by the tension of the yarn. Again, you see how my waste yarn that I'm using, I have to keep pulling it. That's what I was talking about earlier. That adds tension to the machine as well, and you don't want that. That can possibly damage your machine. My machine came broken, so I know for a fact it wasn't my technique here. But I've seen the same problem amongst a lot of reviewers of this particular Sentro. It is just not the best. I ended up having to speak with the manufacturer twice about the machine not being good. I ended up getting a refund because they'd sent me the first one that I paid for, and then the second one was a replacement, still didn't work, being this one. So they ended up refunding me. I can't remember how much I spent on it. But I ended up springing for an Addi Express machine. So after this, moving on to other future projects, I'll end up using my Addi machine to do the smaller Sentro projects, like the handle, as you guys are seeing me crank here. For the handle, we're going to do 200 rows. It is a lot, so you'll see me cranking here. I'm also cranking aggressively because again, Sentro wasn't working the best. When your project gets to the point where it's touching the table, you want to start pulling it up. I'm counting because I lost count, even though I had my thing here to start keeping track of my counts. But yes. When your project starts hitting the desk, you want to reach into the center and pull it up so that your machine doesn't get choked up. Nothing really happens necessarily. It's just that it'll start going slower, and then your project is going to start adding resistance to your machine, which would then cause the machine to start having issues. So you want to keep removing the tension from the needles from the machine so that you could keep cranking away at the machine without causing too much pressure on it and causing it to do too much work. Now we have the two pieces. We have this wider piece from the 48 Sentro and then the longer handle piece from the 16 or 22 needles Sentro, and the body piece is going to be a flap, and then the handles are going to come around like this. As you see, I have a lot of yarn on both body and handle, and you will see exactly why. I'm going to use the excess thread to thread my knitting needles and sew both pieces together using invisible stitches. All right, so we have finished both handle and the bag, and now we just have to stitch them together. Here I'm trying to get rid of the excess yarn that I put on the overall body of the bag. I'm just going to be weaving it through long ways, through the width, through the length of the bag body. That is just to secure the ends that we knotted there. After you slip stitch straight across, you use the excess thread to secure that stitch, and then you just weave it through the body so that there is excess yarn there, that it won't unravel your work. Alright, so here I'm going to be lining up my bag handle with the base of my bag, and then I'm going to be using my knitting pins, knitting safety pins, to act as markers of where I want my bag to fall. And I'm going to be doing 8 corners, so I'm going to start out doing the first 4. That's going to be on the base, which these are going to be the inner portions of the bag. And then I'm going to fold the bag over to do the outer 4 corners of the bag. I'm using all red pins here, but eventually I switched colors once it became difficult to grab the reds. That was OCD kicking in there. But anyway, we're doing the outer 4 corners. And this is not random. I'm going based on, of course, the depth of what I want the bag to be. And then also, while you're pinning them, you're going to be grabbing 2 stitches, one on the bag and one on the bag handle, but they must be very linear to each other. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Also, going back to why I use so much yarn as a tail is this very reason. I've seen this done prior, and someone would use more yarn from their actual skein, but I just feel like it's so much easier to do it with excess tail when you do this on the Sentro. Anyway, going back, so you'll see these 2 stitches linear to each other on the bag, which is what I use to pin close to each other. I'm going to grab them at some point, but like right here, they're so linear to each other. You're going to want to use your needle and go in and under and grab like 2 stitches from each side. 1, 2, and then you go up, and that'll be your stitch. When you pull on this stitch, when you get to the top, it is going to be so invisible at the very end. I tend to switch off with how I do this. Sometimes I think it's better to pull the yarn that you stitch through at the very end. Sometimes I also go up halfway in these stitches and then pull halfway and then keep going. The pro about doing the last one is that you just see your guide the entire way up. I can't really say that there's a con other than it looks kind of gross going up, as you can see here. And if you have OCD, quite like I may have, you don't like seeing it, so you tend to just start pulling immediately. The pro about doing the halfway up method is just seeing your progress. The con is that once you pull it, you kind of lose track of your two stitches that you have side by side. It's going to be super hard finding them after you've already pulled on the string halfway up. So it's probably better to do the first stitch that I'm doing here, just stitching all the way up and then pulling at the very end, which you're going to see me do just now. All right, guys, that was so beautiful and seamless. I love it. Right here, I'm going to go down the line of that same seam with my needle again, just to feed my thread through. That is going to secure the stitches that we just did and keep it from unraveling. Now I'm going to start working on the other side. I am going to remove that yarn from my needle and use the other yarn from the other side to start stitching that side up. Again, I love using a lot of tails on my Sentro for this reason, because I know it's going to help me at the very end. A lot of the projects that I work on are projects that I have to stitch together. This is going to be one of my favorite ones. I love making these bags. I want to start learning how to make bigger knitting bags. And of course, I want to also start incorporating materials into these bags to keep them from bottoming out. This may be the 100th time I've made this bag, quite literally the 100th time maybe. I have them in red, I have them in blue, I have them in brown, I have them in beige, I have them in a really beautiful orange. I have them in like a really bright red. I have them in a lilac. I have them in a soft purple. These bags are so beautiful in all different colors. If you guys are super interested in this bag, of course, I also sell them on my Poshmark. You can find the link in the description of this video. And of course, if you need help with making these bags on your own, this video will help you. It's literally 2 steps, 2 different centros, and then stitching them all the way up. Again, you could also go to that website I mentioned previously, loomknittingvideo.com, and you'll be able to find patterns for this bag and how to make them, how to make bigger ones, how to make the smaller ones. Honestly, the sizes in these aren't that different to me. It's mostly based on the bag handle. So this one will be a little bit snug around the shoulder. There's one that hangs a little bit further down. And then the larger ones, I think they're just based on the size of the handle. So this one is about, it hangs right under my armpit for me. It was 200 on the handle itself. So if you want it to be longer, I would say to go 200, sorry, not 200, add another 100. So I did 200 on this one. You definitely want to add another 100 to make it 300, or you could go 250, you could go 280 or something to make it a little bit longer. But yeah, this bag fits really snug on my armpit. I like it. I would go a little bit longer just because I prefer a little bit of a longer bag. I don't really like bags that hang too close to me like that. So if you are like me and you like longer bags, I would say to make the handle about 250, 290, 300 if you want, and see how those lengths work for you. Until then, this would be a smaller bag. So now I am stitching the bottom part of this bag. This bag is supposed to have like a sort of rectangular bottom. Again, I did not put any type of structure in this bag. I may go in with a lining. I'm gonna use my sewing machine quite possibly and use like an inseam lining or an infuser. I also do a lot of sewing and stuff, so I might do not an ironing not one that you have to iron, one that you have to sew. And I don't know how that would look on this bag. I definitely wish before I closed it up, I would have put like a cardboard inseam inside of it for the structure. But unfortunately I didn't. The bag still came out good. If I could go on Amazon, Amazon sells these little rectangular pouches that you'd put, and they also are structured. I would definitely get one of those for this bag. I only use these bags to go like to the market or something if I just want something to fit my phone, fit my wallet or something. This bag is perfect for that. But I definitely know that it needs a structure. These yarn materials aren't the best at holding stuff, especially if you're a farmer's market girl like me. I love going to the farmer's market, getting a lot of local breads, local honey jars, all that good stuff. And this will not hold that. So you can go on Amazon. Maybe I could find one on Amazon and link it to the bottom, or definitely do a sewing infused inseam. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I definitely know that's not what it is. But for all you the crafty girlies, for all you folks that are learning, it is basically just a liner of the bag to keep the structure, keeping the bag from bottoming out. But yes, we're gonna just keep going up with our invisible stitch and then getting to the very top and just pulling on that to hide the seams. Some of them won't come out as seamless. Sometimes it's because you pull a little too hard. Sometimes I do it all the time. I would grab stitches from another line, especially if I'm not paying attention. So here I'm just kind of like grabbing, I think right just then I grabbed from the wrong side, maybe, I'm not sure. But once you get to the top and you pull, you might see like some zigzaggy ripples in your bag. That would likely mean that you didn't pull at the right tension, or that you grabbed a stitch that wasn't supposed to be grabbed in the lines that you set forth for yourself, like I showed you guys in the very beginning. That's totally fine. It's your bag. I think the imperfections of an item makes it super unique, especially if it's handmade, so definitely don't get upset. I know I kind of have a perfection thing with me. It's more of a tick rather than a personality trait, where if I do something wrong or if I mess up a stitch, I would just kind of like be very like, oh my god, what happened, why did I do this? And I know I can't go back sometimes, and that's totally fine. We just got to look at the imperfections and make them our own unique thing, you know. Now here I'm turning the bag inside out to show you guys it's also seamless on the inside. I only did one half of the bag so far, and now I'm going to be doing the back portion of this bag. It's going to come out so cute, and I hope when you guys do yours it comes out super cute too. So for this portion, I ran out of yarn for the back portion, and I had to use an extra length of yarn. This method is also super easy, but you have to do a little extra step. You have to double the yarn. I'm sure there's ways that you could do single. I prefer single yarn because it's a little less thick. In the beginning there, I fed it through, and the knot that I made was just too flimsy, so it ran right through when I tried to do the single yarn. So I had to double it up, and I'm just gonna keep going. There's no tricks or tips here, really. It's just that the double yarn is just super thick and annoying to work with. So when you do that, just be gentle and just keep going. But if there's a way to use a single yarn and you guys know of a way, then I would say to use a single yarn, because it's just a lot easier and it's just less tension on the project. Alright guys, after we've woven our yarn through, we're just gonna clip it and do a quick double knot, and then clip closest to the knot so that's basically invisible. Then this is going to be the inseam that I was telling you guys about. I'm gonna try to sew it in, or try to get an infiller on Amazon, like I said before. I have a couple of these handmade letter tags hanging around, and I'm just gonna sew that on. I do have a Poshmark seller's storefront if you guys want to purchase this bag from me. If you're not interested in making it on your own, I do have other items there. I will have scarves. Currently I have headbands / ear warmers up there. It is free shipping. Each item is different pricing. I believe the bags are $45. My headband ear warmers are $25. So if you guys want to go over there and purchase these, please go on and support. I am a law student, so when you do purchase these, every dollar you spend goes towards my legal education. Womp womp. Anyway guys, here it is. We have finished our bag. It is so beautiful. Alright guys, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for your support.